Mariposa Grove,
Hmm.
giant sequoias. Man, there was some lessons in there. The redwoods, you always said that the wind has a voice. I sent you a thing a while back where one of the early church fathers had said the exact same thing. Why he went out to the wilderness when being a bishop was too much for him.
Wow.
I'm going to go out in the wilderness here. The wind has a voice, and I'm going to. And then once he was refreshed, he came back and ministered successfully many years after that. The voice, man, when you're sleeping in them tents, let me tell you, you can hear that wind a lot better through them redwoods. You can hear that wind a whole bunch through the sequoias as well. Go to Mariposa Grove, and I was only able to do about three quarters, not because I wasn't able to make the hike, although I was, still nursing that blister and found out I had a little muscle thing on my other foot and all that. They had a tree fall, shut down the trail about three quarters of the way through it. So I had to turn around and yeah, it cut about a mile and a half off of what I was intending on doing. But anyway, I heard something interesting. As big as these trees are, these trees were not as wide as your truck is long. They were as wide, some of them, as my Tacoma.
Right.
That's big trees. I
Yeah,
mean, redwoods are tall,
they're big trees.
but these sequoias are huge. That being said, their root system, I heard this and I go, oh, that'll preach all day long. As you're just marveling at these trees that go past the time of Christ, some of them. One of the tour guides, he goes, this used to be one of the most popular places to drive in the park, up to the Mariposa Grove. He says, now we do it a shuttle because we have found out that although they have extensive routes, a lot of them will still stay somewhat close to the ground and network. The car traffic, the automobile traffic, was actually harming the routes.
Hmm.
So we use a shuttle, and so you're getting shuttled at whatever it was, a mile or whatever, mile and a half to took a couple minutes uh, to get to the actual grove, and it's picking you up about every 10. And I got thinking about that. A lot of times the Lord is almost like the Lord saying, the vehicle I used to get you there in the past ain't the vehicle I'm using now.
Mm.
Ever since COVID, folks,
Yep.
we've talked about that a time or two. What he used to get you there in the past ain't the vehicle. He's going to get you there. You could always walk,
Right.
but that would add an extra 2 miles to what I was planning on actually adding an extra four. And I'm like, nah, no, there was a lot of humility developed in that because the Lord's saying, I'm going to get you there. I'm going to get you there my way. And you're not going to be as self-sufficient as you think. I'm going to get you there where I've called you to be. I'm going to get you there, but I'm going to get you there my way, not the way I did it in the past. And none of those trees failed to praise their maker.
Hmm.
You can have your production, you can have your shouting and hollering, you can have all this other stuff, but I'm telling you, we fail in comparison to praise our maker like those trees did. That's one of the reasons I love getting out in nature. The earth is going to sing the praises of its creator. I'm trying to remember who you used to say the quote, the glory of God is a man fully alive.
Irenaeus or
Yes.
Irenaeus, however you want to say it, or the glory of God is man fully alive. Yeah.
Yeah. And this creation was fully alive, doing what it was supposed to do. It also let me know that by doing what it was supposed to do, it was praising God.
Hmm.
So maybe the biggest way we can praise our maker is to just do what we're supposed to be doing rather than
True.
resort to all the theatrics.
Yeah.
Simply do what we're supposed to be doing. Be obedient. I think about how these things, these trees, and this coniferous forest that you're in, what you also see is a lot of these trees die
Hmm.
and they rot and they get replaced. Except this is a 100,000 year cycle
Oh yeah.
where we think of what are we doing this week?
It's very interesting to me to think about a tree that was starting off the time Jesus was walking the face of the earth. When you're thinking about what's going on in Jerusalem in the first century, in the first couple of decades of the modern era, and I try to think of what's going on in our neck of the woods at that time. Well, literally, there's some trees that are starting to grow that we're going to get familiar with 2,000 years later. Oftentimes, I fail to put timelines together, but I think it's very interesting when we start looking at what's going on in the time of Moses, what's going on in other parts of the planet at the same time. Very, very interesting. So to me, it's a very interesting concept to think that you're walking amongst trees that were growing during the time Jesus walked the face of the earth.
They had something that was really interesting. I took a picture of one of the cones, and it's longer than my foot, and I'm a size 12, and it's significantly longer than my foot. However, in this other grove, they had a thing that said it takes 90,000 seeds of a sequoia to equal a pound. When Jesus talks about, the faith as a mustard seed, this is the same concept. Out east, it was the mustard seed. Over here in the west, man, we got sequoias.
The faith of a sequoia tree.
Yeah. Also, one of the things about the redwoods and sequoias is one of the things that has to happen for them to open up. A lot of times is fire.
I was hoping you'd bring that up.
Yeah.
Because you don't just go out and plant sequoia seeds.
No.
It takes, for that pine cone to do anything, it takes intense heat. So basically, it takes a disaster because you got to have a fire. You got to have a forest fire for these things to take off. To me, that's very interesting. What we think is devastating is actually birthing or giving life.
How many times do you not know that your faith is worth anything until the crisis hits and it's tested? And but once you make it through that, then they can't shake you.
It wasn't the water that brought the life; it's the fire that brought the life.
Yeah, and then use the water to heal. Man, I had to preach.
I mean, seriously, do some digging on pine trees and how they come to be. It is extremely interesting.
Yep, it is a trial by fire, literally.